Hi, I'm Andy. Welcome back to C# Puzzles. Let's take a look at the if statement's friend, the switch statement. So generally you only use the if statement if you've got like under 5 sort of if else cases. So as soon as you start chaining together more than 4 or 5 if else statements, it's more efficient for you to actually use a switch statement, which we're just about to cover. So this is, well, first of all, it looks a lot nicer, the switch statement, a lot more readable once you've got a whole series of them. And also, when the program's compiled in the background, the way the compiler handles a switch statement, it's kind of optimized for doing a lot of sequential sort of logic cases, whereas the if statement is more efficient when there's like 2 or 3 of them. As soon as you get more of them, it just slows down. So let's take a look at it. Let's learn it. Let's get puzzling. Let's get started by going to the repo link. It's in the description. Hit the code drop-down button, copy the HTTPS URL using GitHub Desktop, File, and Clone repository. Go into the URL section, paste it in there, and just check your local paths where you want to save it. I'm saving it in Git repos. Click Clone. It's doing its job. And there's the puzzle there. Okay, let's get it running. And here we go, it just opened another screen there. Take a look at program.cs. And as usual, you have your example puzzle here, which is a fully completed program. And every puzzle you have to start with, you've got your little description for the puzzle. And down at the bottom, examples A, B, and C are commented out so they will run. So if you were working in puzzle A, you just uncomment this and puzzle A would run. I'm going to just comment out puzzle, example B and example C, and I'll walk you through example A just now. So switches, you can kind of see the switch statement here. Very similar to an if statement. What you want to use a switch statement for is like a very long if statement. If you have, if this variable is less than 0, then do this. If this variable equals 1, if this variable equals 2. As soon as you start to get more than like 3 if statements tied together, you may as well just use a switch. It's more compact, it's more readable. Anyway, so the question we're running here is, have you ever farted in an elevator? And we're all going to be truthful here, guys. We're going to say yes. I hope none of you have ever farted into an elevator as you're leaving an elevator. Like there's a bunch of people in there and you're just letting one rip just as the door closes behind you. Don't do that. So yes or no. Again, we're commenting out, we're escaping, the quotes around the Y and the N there. We get an input from the user, and then we'll get an if statement. Again, you can put switch statements inside if statements. That's fine. We're using the if statements here as sort of like a catch-all, almost validating the input. So making sure the input's not blank, because if they just hit enter, that's what would be saved, just a blank. And we're just making sure that it's instantiated, it's not null. This wouldn't actually eventuate from the string input here, but this is in case in larger programs, maybe you're running this and your input's in some other function somewhere else and it comes in here as null. So a null check and a blank check is always good to start off with. We're converting the input to lowercase because the user might type in, yes in uppercase or just Y in uppercase. So for either one of these, using the OR statement, if we get either one of these, it will continue. And I just thought I'd quickly show you how to set the background color of the console. Why should we have just white text and a black background when we can set the background colour red and play about with the colours, make it nice and pretty. So this should display as white text on a red background. And then we have this reset colour to just put it back to normal. So this should display as white text on a black background. And we've got just asking them to enter how many people they've farted on in an elevator and converting the input to a number. And then we've got a switch statement. This is what the video is all about. So every switch has multiple cases. That's what they're called, cases. These are just, think of these as just mini if statements. If fart victim num is less than 0, do this. And then break just means don't do any of this. Exit the switch completely and continue onwards. So if you typed in 2 there, this would be the same as if fart victim number equals 2, then print this and then exit the switch. So if it's less than 0, this will run. If it's 1, this will run. 2, this will run. 3, this will run. What if you enter 4? If you enter 4, it'll be caught by the default case. Switches don't have to have a default case, but this is like your generic else statement. This is the same as an else statement. If a variable equals 1, if variable equals 2, variable equals 3, else do this. So this will catch anything that's not specified in these cases. That's basically the switch statement. It's very useful if you're using the if statement a lot. It's just a lot more readable. And then we have the other sort of else statements here from our starting if statement. So that's everything there. Let me run it for you. Have you ever farted in an elevator? Yes. So there we go. This is this background colour here. And then reset colours turned it back to normal. How many people were in the elevator? How about we do 5? 5 is not one of the cases there, so this should be caught by the default case. Hit enter. Sorry, I'll just allow that through the firewall. Yep, so we got this output here. Okay, if I run that again, choose yes again. If I type in -2, this should be caught by the first case. Were they ghosts? So, okay, fair enough. So I've kind of demonstrated how the switch statement works for this one. Let's look at example B. So I'm commenting out example A so it doesn't run. I'm uncommenting example B. So this will run. And I think for puzzle A, I'm just getting you to write your own switch statement, but changing the colour of the console text, not the background. So it's going to be something similar to this, but that's background colour. So you need to read up on how to turn the console different colours, and then just do a long if statement, basically. Long switch statement, sorry. Okay, remember to convert the user's input to lowercase, just like we did up here. And I've just noticed I've got a typo there. That should be, anyway. Do your puzzle A. Okay, let's have a look at example B. So, example B, I'm kind of showing you the even older way of changing console colours. That's using Unicode. So, if we type in red into the console, it's the same as just putting this piece of Unicode in there. Oh, sorry, it didn't like that, did it? Didn't like the fact that I'd copied the quotation marks. So if I just get rid of that, that's essentially the same thing. It's difficult to understand what that is. So this is why I've given it a variable name, and I'm just putting it into the string there. It's much easier to read. But this will turn the text red, that will turn the text blue. Obviously a lot more complicated than this, which is a lot more readable. So this is kind of built into C#. This comes with the language. That's a lot more readable red background colour than this. I mean, had I just plopped that in there like I showed you, you wouldn't know that was red. You would be like, what? You'd have to go away and Google that. So just be aware that C# with Unicode likes to do the slash and the U. So if you were to Google Unicode, you can get it inside Python, you can get it inside Linux, you can get it inside a lot of stuff, but it would probably be that portion of it, or maybe that. I think the slash and the U is C# specific. So anyway, I'm asking the user to choose a colour, red, blue or green. We're getting the input. We're doing a null check. I've just added in length is greater than 0 just for fun, just to kind of demonstrate to you. That's another check you can do. Although that's very much the same as these, because obviously the length has to be, if the length equals 0, it's that. So just keep that in mind, that you can do .length and measure how long the string is. So we're converting it to lowercase again, and then we're just doing what we did before. This will activate if it's red or R, and then we're using the Unicode colours. So if I run that, I'll give you a demonstration. So let's type in R. You chose red. Let's run it again. Let's type in blue. You chose blue. So I've given you this as an if statement, and we've kind of got an else down here that's going to catch everything if you don't type in red or blue or green or the letters. So for this puzzle, I want you to turn this if statement into a switch statement. Okay? So it should be obvious what the default case is. And you've just got to kind of translate this into this. Okay, it should be fairly straightforward. I'll comment out example B, and let's have a look at example C. So example C, I've just kind of playing about here. I didn't want to really make this too complicated an example for you. So I'm displaying like half a sum here, 2 what, 5 equals what. So what do you need to do between 2 and 5 to equal something? So what it's saying is if you enter an operator, we'll complete this sum. So you can enter either plus or minus, and that can be 2 plus 5, which should equal 10, or 2 minus 5, which should equal minus 3. And we have our switch statement here. And we've got our sums. And I'm just kind of showing you that, you know, you can just use symbols as well. You can match the symbols. It's a very simple example here, but for the puzzle, I really want you to go into maths land. You've probably seen this coming. I want you to do all of the maths operators, plus, minus, multiply and divide. And remember, divide in our previous puzzle, you can do it so that you can get a remainder. You can get a whole number and a remainder, or you can get like a floating number. You can pick either one of them to do, or do both of them if you can remember how to do them. So I want you to you can almost copy this exactly, but you have to add in 2 more cases and you have to do the maths. All right, let's demonstrate this if I click run. So we'll make it 2 plus 5 equals 7. And if I run it again, make it 2 minus 5 minus 3. Okay, so that should be everything. Go ahead, have a go. You will use the switch statement a bit in your career. A lot of people just stick with the if statements, because how often do you need like more than 4 of them? If you need more than 4 of them, start doing switch statements. They're so much easier to read. Okay? Have an attempt at that and have fun. Well, I hope you had an attempt at solving this puzzle. As always, the answer is in the solution branch in the repository. You can go in here and into the folder and look at program.cs, and you have the answer there. Okay, let's take a look at the code. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to comment out the examples. I've demonstrated examples to you. I don't need to run them. And let's just work in puzzle A at the moment. Okay, so we've got our code there. We've got the basic switch statement. We've got some inputs. We've got the background colors. Write a program that provides a fitness exercise for the user to do, depending on what day of the week it is. Very committed if we're doing it every day of the week. So we ask the user for the weekday, and then we use a switch statement to print out an exercise. It should be different every day. Make the console text a different color for each day, not a background color, the actual text color. So we'll get some examples there. Obviously, I ran out of ideas after Thursday. I thought that's good enough to get you started. Okay, convert it to lowercase before comparison, have a default case. I'm going to do a lot of copying and pasting here, guys, because that switch statement is looking very tasty. Yeah, I might just copy and paste this and then edit it. I'll need an if, a sort of null check there around it. And if it's not, if it's not blank, and it's input, does not equal null, we'll call this input. And what day is it? So this is the question we're asking. Well, I think I copied the quotation marks as well. Yep. And that's a string. So get rid of the conversion. I probably could have just typed that in manually and it would have been easier. Okay, so get the switch statement. It was a switch statement I kind of wanted to copy and paste and cheat there. And I'm sorry if you're watching other YouTubers and they type everything in line by line, character by character, but that's not how I usually work. If I can see existing code and I just need to edit it, that's what I'll do. And it's a lot quicker. So this is basically taking the switch, using the input, checking the inputs, not null. I'll make string, a question mark after string to make it nullable. That question mark just means that the user can enter null here. And then we'll get rid of the cases. So we'll just get rid of all this text so that I don't accidentally leave it in there. Okay, so we've got our cases. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all right? Wait a minute. We have to make sure that this is lowercase. So we can just use dot to lower. That way, whatever the user types in, it'll be converted to lowercase. And then we can just start typing in like Monday. Well, let's make sure it's in lowercase. Tuesday. Wednesday, Thursday. And I can copy that and paste it for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And you can see with the copying and pasting I did there how easy that was to do compared to like a an if statement. The switch statement is just a lot easier if you're doing lots of these. So Monday we had 20 sit-ups. Tuesday, you can write in whatever you want here, guys. Have some fun with it. You know, you can always take this to the next level and make up like a little exercise thing. You can throw in some random numbers. Make like a little exercise random number generator sort of thing if you want. Play about with it. So for what will we do? So Friday, what do I fancy doing on Friday? I like jogging, so I think a 15-minute jog would probably do, right? Saturday, what can I do on Saturday? I have my own sort of home gym, so I've got like my own little weight rack, so I can do it. Don't know if you can do it, but I can do some maybe barbell curls. We'll do my biceps, if I can spell Saturday right. Sunday, you know what? I'm just going to do the jog again. I think we've done enough thinking here. But yeah, have some fun with it. So we're going to have a sort of catch-all down the bottom. We have these things in the gym class that I go to called bear crawls, and they're horrific. Can I actually show you a bear crawl if I go to Google? Because I hadn't heard of them until I started this class. If I go to images, perhaps you can see the bear crawl. You have to run like that, like you're a little monkey. Yeah, okay. Very, very, very difficult. So if you don't type in the day correctly, you're getting 20 bear crawls. Now we have to do the text colour, don't we? So not the background colour, make the letter colour different. It's going to be very similar to this. So what did I say for Monday? Red text. So before, it would be console. And you can, using Visual Studio, you can go away and Google this. You can use AI. You can ask GitHub Copilot or whatever Google's got. I think it's Google Bard, whatever it's called now. Or you can sort of use the IDE. The IDE kind of knows all the functions that console has. So it also has foreground colour. And it wants to make it green, but I think I said red in my description. Yep. And then we also have to reset it, right? Oh, there you go, it's telling us how to do it. Fantastic. So I can actually just copy and paste the reset beneath all of them, just above the break statement. And then I can just play about with this for every sort of entry. So what did I say for Tuesday? Blue, Wednesday's green. So hopefully that should just be blue. I wouldn't guarantee that that's what it is. I mean, it might be anything else, but you can sort of do your dot there. It's going to tell you what's available. So blue. Green. Thursday, what did I say? Thursday, yellow. I do a lot of copying and pasting, as you're aware. As a beginner, you should probably be typing this out so you can kind of remember how the code goes, because you will, as part of job interviews, they're just going to give you a blank screen and a very simple puzzle like this, and you're going to have to solve it. So they might not give you, they're probably not going to give you an example. They're just going to say, hey, how do you do a switch statement? Show me. And then you have to type it all out or write it in like a whiteboard or a blackboard perhaps. So typing these things out manually is useful, but you know, I've been doing this for several years, for 7 years, 8 years now. So I just like copying and pasting, okay? What else can we do? What other colours have we got? Cyan looks good. So like a light blue. What else? Saturday. I think we've got some dark. We can type in dark. Yeah, do dark green. Sunday, do dark red. Oh. Dark red. And we'll just leave the default white, right? We'll just leave that white. So if I run that now, I think that looks like an acceptable answer. What day is it? Friday. 15-minute jog, cyan. If I do, let's pick another day. Tuesday. 15 jumping jacks, and that should be blue. Yep. If I run it again. You can do this via console commands also. I'm just wanting to show you how you interact with the IDE. So we'll type in just blah. So this should be caught with the default case. 20 bear crawls. If I just hit enter. Oh, what went wrong there? I didn't have an else at the end of the if statement. See, this is why we do the testing, guys. This is why we do the testing. There was no else clause. And I can just, oh well, I can copy the else clause from the above one, right? So that's why we always test our programs. We try to test each of the cases. Okay, I think that's an acceptable answer. That should work now if I hit enter. There, I can just use black. Excellent. Okay. So looking at example B. Well, yeah, okay, so we'll get this if statement. Puzzle B, rewrite the above example program to use the switch statement. Use Unicode colors. Okay. Cyan, yellow, and magenta. Magenta is just like purple. Instead of the existing colors up there, red, blue, and green. You might get confused with how to add an OR statement into the switch statement. Clue it isn't. So it's not going to be like the OR statement that's in our usual if statements. We should not need the null check for the switch, as the default case should catch it. Yeah, okay. So we're not needing to wrap this. And okay, so I did it there. But that should have actually caught this. So you shouldn't have needed the if statement. I'm not sure about null. It would have definitely caught this. I'm not 100% about null. Anyway, let's work on puzzle B down the bottom. Make that active so it will run. Okay. So rewrite the above program. So I'm just going to copy and paste and edit, which is my style. So we've got our input. It says we shouldn't need this if statement. I'll just leave that there just now, because this is going to be our default command, right? Get rid of that. And we want to change this to, what was it? Cyan, yellow, and magenta. We've got our input. Meh. Do I need that for the switch statement? I mean, this is useful because we can always have input. So if the user typed in something like, yeah, we might want to actually access that later on, right? Because we might want to display the user's answer back to the user. But for programmatic purposes, we want to turn this into, so we can do all the matching. So just creating a new variable for the lowercase conversion can be useful. I guess I just wanted to demonstrate that for you. I'm not too sure we need it for what we're doing though. Up to you, it's either way. So we'll get our switch statement. And we'll just do input to lower. And then we just have to do these cases, right? And we've been told that this is not going to be what we use. So, case cyan it would be, wouldn't it? Now there's a couple of ways of doing this. Probably what you're going to see as the most obvious answer is this is two cases right above each other. And then you can do your command and hit, and it'll match both of them. So, yeah, we have to do the colors, don't we? Yeah, I can probably delete this. I don't think I really need this. We'll just copy the default case and get rid of the rest of the code. Okay, so now we need to change these. The reset will be the same, but we need to change these colors. So if you've been good, cyan should have came out as this. I'm going to copy and paste from another document that I have. Yep, and yellow should have came out as this. And magenta should have come out as this. To sort of demonstrate that to you, you can go to Google, you can type in, remember I said you had to be language specific, because it's going to be slightly different in Python, it's going to be slightly different in C++, Linux, command line, whatever. You can just enter that into Google, and you're going to have all these answers that are going to display this to you. Maybe it's in here, don't know. I like using Stack Overflow. Someone entered it here, so you see that's not C# specific. So you can look through until you find it in Google, or you can use GitHub Copilot or Bard using C#. And I'll just make sure that's a nice sentence, let it think. And hopefully, that's just what I like about, see now, it's given us the wrong answer, we don't want it like that. So we kind of have to keep prodding it. See, it'd be U0 something. Yeah, okay, so it's sort of printing them out. It's not really what I wanted though. What did I end up with? I ended up with this. See, this is, everyone's like AIs are brilliant. It's given me the right answers, but it's not the answer I want. Okay, so it's an ANSI. So this is what's went wrong here. I've been saying Unicode. It is actually Unicode, but Unicode has borrowed it from ANSI, which is a sort of American standard. So Unicode includes everything in ANSI plus its own stuff. So that's actually an ANSI character. So again, that's probably my fault, but you can see how you're not quite there. You ask it a question and it starts giving you the wrong sort of stuff. It does work. That is magenta. It's just it's in ANSI. All right. That was a bit of learning there. So anyway, that's what I want. Okay, so what was next? Uppercase yellow. I'll show you the other way of doing this. Once I've finished the switch statement, I'll convert it for you. So I can sort of copy this and paste it. And if you've just kind of jumped into this puzzle, the reason I can input variables into the string is I'm using string interpolation by using the dollar symbol in front of the string. So this is just going to allow me to plug these variables in, makes it much more readable. Chose yellow. And the last one was magenta. Why is it not like that? I've not added in the break statements. So I know a mix of languages, and not all languages is there a break statement at a switch, as you'll discover if you do the Python version of this. Python doesn't have a break statement. So again, there's so much code, you're never going to be able to memorize it. What you have to be able to memorize is most languages have a switch statement of some kind. When would you use it? You would use it when you've got an awful lot of if statements chained together, more than 3 or 4. You want to use a switch statement. So it's really learning the pattern. You can Google this. You can go into Google, you can go into the Copilot, and you can say, what is a switch statement in JavaScript, Python, C++, whatever. And it'll give you the various intricacies. So that'll work. If you type in C or cyan, we should get this running, and then it should finish. Blah, blah, blah. Default, this should catch everything. Let me run that and prove to you that's working. And again, sorry for calling these Unicode colours. They are actually ANSI colours. But Unicode does have them. So, let's type in cyan. You chose cyan. Excellent. If we type in C, if it lets me. If I type in C, you chose cyan. Okay, so it matched both of them, and if I type in blah, 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 we get, no matching colour. Now, another way of doing this, so this is probably the oldest way of doing it, and you'll find this all over the internet. This is probably what you found. A sort of new way of doing it is using the actual word or, which I think's more readable. So you'll find this happens in languages. This format will exist for years, and then they'll just, in an update, they'll update the C# language, Microsoft will, and they'll maybe add in this new or statement because they think it's more readable, and it is. So that should also work. If I type in magenta, it shows magenta. If I type in M, you chose magenta. Excellent. So you just got to be aware that within the switch statement, that will not work. See how it's coming up in red? That will not work. So either way, either one of those. Successful conclusion to the puzzle. It's hard. This is hard, but you can use this sort of stuff in Linux and that. It just in Python and a lot of languages, it just won't have the slash and the U at the start. Okay. Taking a look at example C now. Well, puzzle C. Let's comment out puzzle B and let's get puzzle C going. Okay, so fairly simple. We're just going to modify this to also do multiply and divide. But we actually have to have two inputs, right? So we won't be needing the top line because we have to get the user to input everything themselves. Okay, so this is going to be exactly the same. Maybe call this operator input. And then we'll just need a sort of statement above it. Enter a number. And we'll just call this number 1. So we'll just have to make sure that the read line's converted. And there's multiple ways of doing this, as I've shown you in not converted. There's multiple ways of converting this. It's just this is my favorite way of doing it. So you're probably only going to ever see me do this way, but I have shown in earlier puzzles different ways of doing this. I can copy and paste that. Just call it num2, enter a second number. Spell second correctly. Don't look like an idiot in front of everyone, Andy. So this is actually going to be based on the operator input. I should probably do this like too lower or something. You can't enter in you can't make plus or minus or star or slash capital or lowercase. So we're probably going to be okay doing this. And the default case should catch like if you enter null. Okay, so I can just copy and paste this a couple of times and then edit it. So this is going to be multiply, this is going to be divide. We'll just call this multiply answer. Again, we're copying the existing code. Add answer, minus answer, we're following the same pattern. So this would pass code review. As long as we don't leave the wrong variable in there due to copy and paste. I'll just call this divide. Although we're probably going to change this, right? So I'll make that star. So there's a couple of different ways of doing the division. So I don't like the fact that they're hard-coded these, and it's not going to be what the user entered anyway. So this is really going to be like num1. And this is going to be num2. Right, so I can just copy and paste this and enter it there. Do the same. And I'm aware that you can use find and replace to do this. I could have just went, is it Control F? Yeah, Control F, you get this little drop down thing. And you can actually search for things. So if I type in like num1, it highlights all the num1s for me. This is Control and F. So just to write it out for you. So it's basically and this isn't a Windows computer, which finds things, but you can also do like find and replace, like you can in Notepad and other stuff. So I could have kind of just done like 2 num1, it would have replaced all the 2's, but it would have done so in this whole document. But you can see all the times 2's been sort of highlighted. Yeah. So it would have replaced, so that would have been really, you can see the yellows is all the matches, so you wouldn't really want to do that. I could have maybe went like that, and it's still matching some things, right? It's still matching that, but it would have matched all this sort of stuff. But we're not going to do that. We're just going to copy and paste. We're going to do it manually. You can see how that's that can make a lot of mistakes very quickly. You can also sort of search the entire project, the entire solution, all the documents you have opened here if you start making bigger programs. Just thought I'd demonstrate that to you. Anyway, back to the puzzle. To the divide. So for multiply, that's good enough. That is 2 times 5. Oh, wait a minute. We have to make these the numbers as well, don't we? Kind of looking like that. It looks good. So whatever the user enters, if they choose the add symbol, it will be the first number plus the second number, and it'll be displayed. For multiply, that's basically all we need. Now division, there's a couple of different ways of doing division. You could just do it that way. And this is going to give you like a floating point, but you're going to need to convert it to a double to make it a floating point. So you could do that and then make that the same. Make that a double. Because an integer, remember, an integer does not have a floating point. If we do 5 divided by 2, that's going to equal what? Sorry, that's going to equal 2.5, okay? Integers don't have the floating point, so it wouldn't work. So if we make it a double is a kind of float, we can have the 2.5. So that's why I'm converting this to a double, and I'm saving it as double, I'm displaying it as a double. Probably the easiest way to do this would be, well, to be honest, this is probably the best way to do this, but another way would be this. So we get the divide. I can't spell, but someone that only speaks English, I seem to be typing in French or something. And you get the remainder by using the sort of percentage symbol. So we've covered this before. So if we were to do 5 divided by 2, this would get me 5. This would get me remainder 1. Divide 5 by 2, you can do it, get 2 into 5 twice, that's 4, remainder 1. So we would really just display that. Yep. So those are 2 ways of doing division. We've done the switch statement. I think that's everything. Consoles, oh, we maybe need to update this. Yeah, I think that's everything. I think that's a good answer. I think this is really what we'd go with, but let's run it. Enter a number 2. Oh, see, we need to update the original prompt because we can do star and it'll work. Enter a second number 5. 2 times 5 equals 10. Okay, so let's add in some extra stuff here. A bit more, yeah, okay. So save that, run that. Enter a number, 5, enter an operator, divide 2. So 5 divided by 2, that's not correct. That is correct. What have I done wrong here? Remainder. Num1, that should have been. See, copying and pasting, it can lead to very simple errors, but I find it's quicker. 5 divided by 2, 2 remainder 1, so that's correct. You could have just, I feel that times when I've done it, when I've typed everything out manually, it takes a lot longer, but it's more accurate. Whereas if you're copying and pasting, you maybe forget, you maybe copy and paste the wrong thing, but it's a lot quicker. This is why you need to do testing again and again. I'm going to leave these errors in there because I want to kind of show you that, you know, the coders that are a bit further along than you, people actually have jobs as professional coders, we still make these mistakes. And I want to show you how we generally play about with the code. I don't want you to sort of see me just enter the answer and think, oh, Andy, he knows absolutely everything. Why can't I get to that level? I'm not at that level. You copy and paste, you make little mistakes, you check it. We have whole systems of testing to make sure that your errors don't make it through to the final. And you're unlikely to ever get your code working without an error the first time. If your code works first time and it's not something super simple and there's no errors, there probably has been an error, you just don't know where it is. So that's why we do testing. And I'll show you testing later on in the course. So anyway, that's the answers. Well done, my friend. You've completed another puzzle. The same code, the same puzzle is available on my other channel, pythonpuzzles.com. So Python kind of calls it match, not switch, but it's still a switch statement. It's still exactly the same. So check out that channel to sort of pick up another language. I also have a new website, codingjobsimulator.com, where I have premium puzzles. So every puzzle we've done so far is available on that website, but a premium version. So if you want to pass me a couple of dollars and support the channel, that's where to go. As for the code that we've learned in this puzzle, I don't want you confused about when and when not to use the switch statement. Most of the time, the vast majority of your time, you'll be using if else. Okay? But if you find you have one variable that has multiple different if else's, a classic example is days of the week. If the day equals Monday, Tuesday, pets names maybe. If pets names equals Rover, or if pets names equals Daffy, or if pets names equals George. It's the same variable but multiple different cases for that. Use a switch statement. Everything else basically just use if else. You have to also consider the fact that the switch statement is compiled by the CPU quicker if it's used correctly. So it runs faster, takes less code, takes less memory. I just want to mention that just now. Our level, it's not really a big deal. Our programs are fairly small, but once you start getting thousands of lines of code, the logic you choose to use determines how efficient your program is. Okay? So we just kind of have to maybe keep an eye on efficiency and when to use what from now on. But anyway, guys, you've done fantastic. You know if else, you know switch. I'll see you in the next video.